Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Chilluminati podcast, episode 256. As always, I'm one of your hosts, Mike Martin, joined today by the Osha and May of LA.
Osha?
Jesse and Alex.
Like the word
Osha and May?
Osha?
Osha and May,
Oh,
Jesse?
you're talking Star Wars. Alex has no... This might be the first time Alex doesn't know this reference.
I thought you were talking about the like workplace safety org, OSHA.
That's what we're referring to, the Star Wars version, the workplace safety, and May is the Marine Aquatics environmentalisms.
Yeah. What about those non-military contractors though, man?
Someone's got to think of the quartered people. They live underwater.
Who is OSHA? Is that from the Acolyte?
Yes. They're both from the Acolyte.
I'm so glad to be free of the shackles. It's so nice to know that I don't have to watch that and no one will get mad at me. I love that.
Instead, we shackle you to the Patreon because you are forced to shill every single week.
Here's the thing. I like shilling about the Patreon. I like telling people that we are punk rock as hell and that we don't ask for money in return to listen to the show, but we just ask that if you can support the show, that you do, and that there's lots of goodies for you to get for doing that in the same way that a tote bag is not worth $1,000, but you get one when you help out PBS. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So head on over there. Not only do you get ad-free episodes, not only do you get mini-sodes, not only do you get art from Mel, which rules every single time, not only do you get episodes of our brand new movie commentary show, Rotten Popcorn, which is just starting out and is really starting to find its pace. Yeah. There's so much going on. And if you listen to the Q&A, you'll see there's so much going on, and it's all because of the Patreon. So just get over there, help us out. There's no joke here. This is just what's up. I'm no alien. I'm no Sasquatch. I'm no government plant. I'm just a man. You
think you could be all three of those at the same time? Do you think it's possible?
I'm just a man out here trying to get people to come together to support.
Is that true?
I'm just a man with blue skin who can climb around.
You keep saying it in a way, I just don't know. The more you say it, the more I start to not believe you.
I'm just Henry McCoy, the X-Men. I'm just a metahuman. Please support us.
You're
I love
eternal.
You. Thank you. I'm an Eternal. We were just talking about the Eternals. Anybody? No? Oh, wow. That's surprising.
Would it surprise you if I said I have not seen the Eternals?
No, but would it surprise you if I told you that the Eternals as a concept was based off Chariots of the Gods?
I learned something. Bam.
And we're back in the Chilluminati podcast.
Bang.
Yeah,
I would say with confidence that the things you get at our Patreon as rewards are better than the things you would get in a tote bag at a video game convention like PAX.
That's true.
I would say.
That's true. Not quite as cool as Black Bolt, the comic book character, but
actually much cooler.
But
in fact, everything is cooler than Blackagar Boltigan. Everything.
I had literally forgotten entirely about that man, and I will again after the show is done.
Everything is cooler than Blackagar Boltigan.
How is he your favorite character? It doesn't make any sense.
Let me tell you something. The silence that I am taking on this conversation speaks volumes and is just exactly why Black Bolt is the coolest.
Much like him, because he can't talk, because if he does, your face will explode.
Oh, he can. That's the point. He can and he doesn't, because he doesn't like to bullshit around. He's the fucking cool. He's the coolest.
He's not the coolest. He sucks, dude. He absolutely sucks.
Do you know what his powers are? Do you know what his powers are? He can manipulate.
He opens his mouth and shatters the world.
That's just one aspect of his powers. Do you know why he has a little tuning fork on his forehead, other than that it's the coolest thing that's ever been on someone's forehead?
Because it was the 60s and like people be crazy?
He can control electrons, bro.
Yeah?
So why does he need that on his head?
This would be like, again, let me just stress to everyone. This would be like if Spider-Man's real name was Spider-Gar-Manigan.
No, it's not. He's not a human. He's an inhuman. It's just an accent. He doesn't speak English.
It sucks.
He doesn't speak English.
The man's full name is Blackagar Boltigan, and he was like, my superhero name, Black Bolt. That sucks.
It's just a nickname, like how my name's Alexander, and everybody calls me Alex. It's the same thing.
My name's Mike, and everybody calls me Mathis.
That's a mistake that you made.
It's true. It is a mistake.
My name's Jesse. Everyone calls me Jesse. So
it's not even a mistake I made. It was laziness. It was 2004. I didn't know what to name my World of Warcraft character, so I hit random, and it gave me Matthias.
That's not lazy.
And I deleted the I, and then now I've been Mathis since, like online.
That's the same
forever.
exact lore as Mangchi.
Yeah.
Is it? I don't know who that is.
She's that like Korean, like she's like the Korean like cooking, like home cooking, like she's like the Julia Childs of Korea. She's amazing.
Oh, that sounds fun.
Yeah.
No one else is fun. Today's topic, gentlemen.
Oh wow, what a segue.
Oh boy.
Today, this was an episode of a reminder as to why these kinds of episodes aren't done too often, because as much as I love ghosts, hauntings, and all that good stuff, there's not a lot I can dig my teeth into, kind of like in terms of like good, like, detailed narratives like the Borley Rectory when we talked about that.
Question, is it because ghosts are intangible so you can't put your teeth in them though? Is that why?
You got me.
Does your teeth go right through them?
What? I'm so shocked that of all the things, ghosts are the one you're like, I don't know, guys.
But dude, I'm with him. Not about believing, like about finding
specific
like
stories,
worthy topics within the ghost lore.
You just don't want to tell a good ghost story, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, well, like there's a bunch of good ghost stories, but those last like 5 minutes. And,
like, when is it not? When is it not like? Well, actually, the little sister was going into the other room and like just reading everybody's wallets. Like it's literally
the ones we dove into, like, and had photos of. Like they're tough. But there was a topic I had brought up a while back that I forgot we hadn't gone into, and that was of something called like ghost photography. And we have a lot of kind of photographs out there of really well-known ones. Like there's the one of the white lady of the library. Like that's a really popular one.
That's Ghostbusters.
And then the brown lady, which is another one, is like a really popular ghost photo. I could be remembering that wrong. Jesse gave me a look, but
you know what one always lights me up is the one that's like a family photo and they're all sitting at the table together, and then there's like an upside down guy. You seen that one? Yes,
I know exactly the one you're talking about. And there's a couple of them too where like there's like a photo of like old like high school like 60s or 50s photo, and there's like a freaking face just like in between two people in the back row. Like those are fascinating.
Yeah. Some guy who died on Dead Man's Curve.
Wait, what was that one? I don't know if I've seen that one. I have to look. I probably have, but it's been so long.
It's just always some guy who like just died.
Is it a reference that I don't understand?
It's a reference. It is a reference.
Okay, gotcha. See, that tells you I don't know what you
It's a reference to America. It's just a reference to our history as
Americana.
Yeah, like Dead Man's Curve is like that.
Well, yeah, but you're a man who was taken from the 50s and forced to be in modern 2020s.
I will not deny that I am dressed in a actual historically real Hawaiian tour bus guide 1960s resort shirt right now. I'm not going to say that I'm not wearing that right now, but Dead Man's Curve, tell me when you recognize this, is that famous curve where all the badass boyfriends go and die on their motorcycles in the songs, when it's like, what happened to your boyfriend? Oh, he went on Dead Man's Curve and he disappeared on prom night and I never saw him. It's Dead Man's Curve. That's all it is.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and then he shows up in
my boyfriend's back and now he's a ghost.
Is that where Susie Q died in the at-home Disney movie? Susie Q, played by the actress who was the Pink Ranger in Power Rangers.
Amy Jo Johnston? Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, Amy Jo Johnston.
Right. You know, she like went on to like direct.
Is that a correct memory?
Yeah, that's 100% right.
Huh?
And I think Jimmy Olsen is in that, if I'm not wrong. I don't know.
Oh, is he? I could not remember. But yeah.
A long time ago. Jimmy Olsen from
countless times.
Yeah, Dean Cain. Anyway, the chaos of this episode continues.
Yeah. Well, it represents the chaos of the research that had to be put in.
Can I ask a question about ghost photography real quick?
Yeah.
When you say ghost photography, is it a thing like fairy photography where we're talking about there's like people who like regularly produce ghost photos, or are we talking about just like instances of like incidental ghosts appearing?
Are we also talking about people who just take a photo and then input, like use the exact same thing, take another photo over it, and then they're like, it's because there was a time period people did that for fun. Like they would make ghost photography for fun as like a goof. Like that's a thing people did.
That was like one of the first iPhone. That was one of the first iPhone trends. Was
it's like a filter. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Today, Alex, you're closer with the first one. We are going to be talking about two individuals who have claimed in the past, over the course of years, of being able to take photos of ghosts, paranormal things, weird stuff. And we're going to be talking about these two individuals by the name of David Roundtable, not Round Table, Roundtable, spelled
like no
like
D?
Round Table, but without a D. That's all.
Roundtable.
And then another man by the name of Ted Serios. It's serious without the U. Very bizarre names, both
These
of them.
guys are both body snatchers.
I literally just realized they're last names are both words with one letter removed?
Checking human vocabulary dictionary. I am Mr. Serios. I am Mr. Roundtable.
Thank you so much to Babbel for sponsoring today's episode. And do me a favor, can you just fast forward your brain, I know you can do it, to the end of 2024. Think of your goals, what you can do right now to give yourself the best chance of succeeding. And if one of those goals is learn a new language, well, don't worry about it. You absolutely should get Babbel. Did you hear that? The little bing, bing, bang, bing, bong, bing, bong, bing, bang, the bell? Yeah, that's what learning sounds like. What, you didn't know learning actually makes a sound? It's true, listen. That's the sound of you learning a new language with Babbel. Babbel's been really fun. I've been trying to brush up on my Spanish again since I literally haven't taken Spanish in 20 years. Oh my God, how old am I? And for me, it's all about those convenient courses. Yeah, immersion and living those real life experiences is the best way to learn a new language, but I can't go live somewhere where all they speak is Spanish. I have to do a job and work and stuff. But Babbel's been super convenient to help me learn real-life conversation skills in a different language. I can order food, or ask for direction, or say my name, me llamo Miguel. Well, I guess me llamo Maiko? Well, it is now. Anyway, if you want to be just as good as I am, and I know you're jealous, here's a special limited-time deal for our listeners. Right now, get 55% off of your Babbel subscription, but only for our listeners at babbel.com/chill. That's 55% off at babbel.com/chill, spelled BABBEL.com/chill. Rules and restrictions may apply. Thank you again to Babbel for sponsoring today's episode. Before we dive in, obviously, a big shout out to the main sources for this. The book Paranormal Technology, Understanding the Science of Ghost Hunting. This is written by David Roundtable himself, discussing the tactics and the technology behind the camera he uses to take these photographs. And a little bit, another book by the name of The World of Ted Serios, which we'll get into in the back half. We're going to start with David Roundtable. And David Roundtable is fascinating because he's still around today. He was part of a TV show called Ghost Stalking, I think it was called. He has an IMDb page you can go look at.
Sorry, I need to look up Ghost Stalking because that is one of the best names for... There's ghost hunting and ghost adventuring, but Ghost Stalking is absolutely hilarious. Just the concept of we're gonna hunt them, but creepily.
I found it's ghost stalkers, not stalking. Ghost stalkers.
Wait.
The reason ghosts are saying boo is because they're disappointed in you for stalking them. They're boo.
You think that's the life of a ghost is perpetually being think you're being stalked by humans?
That's probably what it feels like in some of those jails and shit where there's always people.
Yeah, I think it's only 5 episodes as well. I don't think it's very long. I think
6 episodes, 1 season, 2014.
There you go.
Produced by Nick Groff of Ghost Adventures.
Oh yeah, he's the sensible one.
We won't be talking about 2014. We're going to go back into the 1980s. Remember those days? I was born, so I don't.
I probably have 1 or 2 memories of those days.
Jesse, do you have memories of the neon-soaked decade of the 1980s, man?
Yeah, but I lived in Virginia. I spent the 80s moving from San Francisco to, Pittsburgh, San Francisco, then Virginia. And then I moved to Ohio in either the late 90s or late 80s, early 90s. I don't know.
Yeah, well.
I moved around a lot. I have no memories of fancy stuff. I have memories of the country of Virginia. Living in Blacksburg where they were still building roads.
Yeah, no, okay. So
I don't have
no.
New York, 1980s. I don't have any of that. I was a kid riding a bike on dirt roads and into mud pits for fun.
That's the vibes.
The 1980s, the era of shoulder pads. This is the era we're starting our story in today. It's in this era that we find our first figure, David Rountree. Rountree was a man of, I guess, paradoxes. He was, and this is important to note, a self-proclaimed scientist who also embraced the spiritual traditions of the Native American wolf medicine. And with a background in physics, or so he claims, he speaks of quantum entanglement, unseen energies, and with a cold, kind of boring demeanor, also explains the mechanics of his spirit camera, as he calls it, which was a curious contraption shrouded in a bunch of mystery, as is a ton of Rowntree's life. So much so that Rountree claimed that he was in the military and went off to Vietnam and did all of these things. earned these like medals, and none of that can be found. And years and years ago, he said on Facebook, basically like, I don't let as it's always been, I don't let my life be an open book, with a smiley winky face at the end when people like were calling him out about the military thing. So we're looking at a possible case of stolen valor amongst.
We're talking Tropic Thunder, baby.
Yeah, well, yeah, a movie I haven't seen, but I understand the plot of.
That's so nice that you've learned little like tricks to help you get through life.
You're really doing it.
Having no culture. Yeah, you really like take the sting out of that when I find out. Yeah, that way. Yeah.
And so in that, like, his camera was mysterious, like the way it all worked. A lot of things lacked details, with the exception of his scientific explanations, quote unquote, as to what ghosts are and a bunch of other stuff that we'll get to in a little bit. It was said that his camera was capable of capturing not just the visible spectrum of light, but also the ethereal emanations of spirits and those unseen energies that purportedly lingered in haunted places and clung to some of the living.
This is literally the recent Haunted Mansion film also. Like, now, yeah.
I've not seen that either.
It's all right.
No.
That's probably fine.
All right, cool. Yeah, I figured that was fine to miss that one.
Jamie Lee Curtis was great.
That's good to know. Rountree's photographs were often grainy and indistinct. It depicted shadowy looking figures, glowing orbs, which also, the fact that he uses glowing orbs as evidence, I'm going to say out here and say, as some of the lowest, lamest, most easily described away fucking forms of ghost evidence ever. Orbs are dust, bugs close to the lens, reflecting light, like a piece of particle far away. Like, it could be literally so many different things, and people, just orbs are nonsense. I'm sorry. Orbs are nonsense. Okay. Now that that's off of my chest, I appreciate that. And he also had he claimed that these were otherworldly apparitions, images that were genuine glimpses into the spirit realm with photographic anomalies that couldn't be explained any other way. But obviously there were skeptics on the other side that said this was all deliberate manipulation, and the fact that he wouldn't show his camera was proof for them. The debate went on for a long time, and skeptics dismissing Rountree as a charlatan believer dismissed him as a charlatan, while there are still a section of believers that consider him a visionary within the realm of paranormal science, quote unquote. Whether his photographs are genuine or not, they definitely ignited a conversation, as we've learned many, many times. That's all you really need to get a contingent of people on the internet to believe everything you say, no matter what. It just doesn't fucking matter. Rountree claims to have invented a camera that was capable of capturing quote unquote ectoplasmic energy of spirits that was tapped into quote unquote deep-seated yearning. Now, what the fuck that means?
Why they stick around? They have an unresolved thing they're yearning for.
Deep-seated yearning.
Come on, man, get with ghost lore, dude. How do you know so much about alien lore, but you don't know about ghost lore?
He only has so many move slots.
I'm surprised you made that contact. I'm surprised you made that connection. This camera, he promised, would revolutionize our way of understanding the afterlife, offering not just confirmation of its existence finally, but potentially a new way to interact with those who had passed on, which you can see those who may be in a form of grieving and not able to let go can see this as a way for them to cope. Maybe there's a way I can still communicate with them. It resonated enough with a public that was already captivated by the idea of near-death experiences, spirit communication through the decades that we talked about, that, of course, this new technological way of talking to people that was kind of like a new spirit board, I guess I would consider it, hooked people. Hook, line, sinker. Were you going to say something, Alex? I apologize.
It's just the same old grift. This one particularly makes me mad. Like this type of grift where people prey upon people's sort of interest in the afterlife and spirituality and the fear of, and the loss. It's just a whack one. It's just a whack one for people to ever use in marketing for anything.
And we're think about it. We're in the 80s right now. This is the perfect time for it was the perfect cultural and technological landscape for somebody like this with a camera that can capture photographs of ghosts and shit to come in and just kind of scoop up on that rising popularity. It was with the advances in photography, imaging technology that fueled speculation of the potential to capture fleeting glimpses of the paranormal that hooked these people forever on. This was the rise of, and we're looking at a new rise as well around this time of New Age spirituality, and the resurgence of interest in ancient traditions created another kind of ideal environment for this hotbed, for this thing to just take hold the way it did. But Rowntree's path to becoming this kind of public, enigmatic figure behind this quote unquote spirit cameras, me a lot of quote unquotes, was anything but like conventional. The man was born in 1954 in Suffolk, Virginia. His early life offered little indication of the path that he would take toward this. He wasn't a guy who was like out there trying to entertain people, trying to like be a person of focus, get people's attention. None of that seemed to be the case. He displayed an early aptitude for science and technology. He was very fascinated with science, eventually pursuing a degree in electrical engineering. However, his interests extended beyond the confines of traditional just education. His fascination with the paranormal blossomed during his formative years, fueled by a mix of personal experiences and a voracious appetite for literature on the occult and unexplained phenomena. He recounted tales of childhood encounters with unexplained phenomena that left a lasting impression with him. These experiences included things like fleeting glimpses of shadowy figures darting across his periphery vision, whispers that seemed to emanate from empty rooms, and the unsettling feeling of being watched in the dead of night. While some might dismiss these experiences as a child's overactive imagination, for him, they planted the seeds of curiosity and a yearning to understand what the nature of these anomalies might be and their potential connection to the world beyond the one he was existing in. Was there an afterlife, essentially? And if true, if we take that as true, I mean, that's the best. I mean, that's kind of what you would hope for from somebody who's experiencing these things, to like go out and try and figure out what's going on, as opposed to somebody like me who would probably just be truly too terrified to act on any of it and never, ever really, like the fact that, Alex, you have that story of like the whispering woman in the other room. If I was actually dealing with that all the time, I feel like I would leave. I don't know if I can handle it. Has that actually continued? Has that died down?
Yeah, it's not been happening as much. No, I don't know. The energy has shifted. Interesting.
No, it's like, but like for him to get scooped up by this, to hook him on this. Yeah, I can see this happening. And as he delved deeper into this stuff, Rowntree's worldview began to shift, and he started embracing a more holistic understanding of reality that incorporated both scientific principles mixed with spiritualist beliefs, which to me sounds like he tried mushrooms for the first time and saw God. And so now he's ready to like start combining them.
Who hasn't, to be honest?
True. I have not gone that far. And, you know, I maybe should. Maybe it's time I go have a conversation with God.
I did some I don't know what I did.
How many mushrooms do I need to eat for that?
I was on a hubby bar, I think, and I saw like a porcelain deity in the toilet. That was pretty wild.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You have to elaborate. What,
no, he doesn't.
Was it a hole? Was it a face? Was it like a whole person?
You know, okay. I've told the story before somewhere, I'm sure, but you know,
I've never heard you see a porcelain figure in a toilet story. So
you know that type of like Japanese theater mask or whatever. That's like a nice porcelain,
like a kabuki mask
white,
or whatever.
But it's like just white. It's very like simply smiling, like very, very like thinly painted little like closed eyes that almost look like they're smiling, like they're like seagulls.
Yeah, that's horrifying to see in the toilet.
No, but it's not the whole face, right? It's just like as if the eyeball itself went up against the bowl, like a huge face. And then it told me I was never going to be sane again, and this was how I was going to be now.
What the fuck? That's horrifying. Holy shit.
Yeah. But I was playing Street Fighter 4 at the time, and it wasn't.
It was also high,
and my main
was very high.
Fucking wild.
That's
dude.
not. That's not. It's not. Look,
did you go back to playing Street Fighter? Like, I'll be.
No,
fine.
I threw up all over the room. If I, considering that I was high, is like saying like, oh well, like that bird was flying at the time, like. I don't know, like the part that's like if I was a priest or a cop and I was high and I saw this, it'd be like, oh, it's because he did the drugs. He didn't know what he was doing. He lost his mind. I think.
But you're saying you're a veteran.
Yeah, I think sometimes
veteran of the pot wars.
Yeah.
Long ago.
Yeah.
The drug wars. Oh my God, the drug wars.
Drug wars,
on your
dude.
TI 85 calculator, you were a veteran.
Haven't you seen I fought 4 pot, dude. I fought 4 pot.
That's fucking insane. Oh God, I don't know if I want to get that high or to have to take that many mushrooms. I'm good. I don't need to see a giant.
I pitched a sketch to Smosh one time that was like a trailer for a movie about it's like a like fascist takeover kind of movie, except it's the people who like took over who smoke weed, and they like make you like they torture you, they like get information out of you by giving you bong rips, and the revolutionaries like listen to country music and shit, like pop country music, and they like really boring food and stuff.
I love that.
Yeah. Anyway,
Rountree's insatiable curiosity and thirst for knowledge led him on his own spiritual journey. Exploring diverse traditions from around the world, he delved into the mystical teachings of Eastern philosophies, the ritualistic practices of ancient cultures, and the esoteric wisdom of Western occultism. However, it was within the shamanic practices of Native American wolf medicine that Rountree found a profound sense of belonging and purpose. The wolf, revered in many Native American traditions as a symbol of intuition, and if I got this wrong, please correct me. This is just from what my research got to me. It was a symbol of intuition, loyalty, a connection to the spirit world, and for Rountree, it resonated very deeply for him. He was drawn to the concept of a reciprocal relationship between humans and nature, where all living things were interconnected and interdependent. Again, man had a mushroom trip. The worldview challenged the dominant Western paradigm of separation and domination, offering a more holistic understanding of existence. That's kind of where he was taken. Rountree was particularly fascinated by the shamanic belief in a spirit world that coexisted with the physical realm, and we learned all about that in Prey, 2006. Alex,
the game.
We learned all about that actual spirit world. It's a realm inhabited.
You traverse it.
You can traverse it. You can shoot spirit beings to heal yourself in it.
It used to help old shamans solve puzzles to progress through nature.
And even while he was there, he didn't believe it was real. It was a very fascinating story. Yeah, this is a realm inhabited by your ancestors, animal spirits, other supernatural entities. He saw shamanism as a way to bridge the gap between science and spirituality, to reconcile his rational mind with his intuitive sense of something deeper that we aren't able to get to in our physical world. And so, through his study and practice of wolf medicine, I keep wanting to say world medicine, wolf medicine, Rountree sought to develop his own intuitive abilities and tap into the wisdom of the natural world and the spirit realm. He embraced this journey, a practice of entering altered states of consciousness to communicate with spirit guides, gain insights into hidden aspects of reality. Rountree believed that these practices could not only enhance his understanding of the paranormal, but also provide him with the tools to capture and interpret the elusive energies of the spirit world. Rountree's immersion in wolf medicine was not just merely an intellectual exercise, it was a transformative experience for him that changed how he interacted with the world as a whole from then. And so, we're going to dive into just a little bit about what he explains, and he describes how all this shit works.
Before we do this, I just want to do something a little assholey, just a tiny bit assholey. For our listeners out there, go back to what Mathis just said. Go back, clip out what he just said about this dude's origin story, about like how he experienced some things he couldn't understand as a kid, and he spent the last X number of years of his life trying to find some sort of answer for what it all meant in both the physical and metaphysical realm, and sort of come up with this sort of like unifying theory of existence. Take everything that Mathis just said verbatim, go to Reddit if you would, copy it all down, and then anything that sounds ghost or metaphysical related,
I know you're gonna
input a UFO thing.
How dare you?
And tell me it doesn't sound like the exact same shit. The exact same shit.
That's so delicious.
The difference is there's no fucking government wing trying to explain ghosts.
How do you know there isn't a government wing trying to cover up ghosts, bro?
You shouldn't have said government with so much stank on it so quickly.
Because they're terrible. Then they're doing a better job at keeping this shit secret than the ones that are doing the aliens. You really want to do this to the episode right now, Jesse?
I'm just saying it's the exact same trying to find a purpose in the universe.
Nothing happened in my life that I need
as
to
a ghost
explain.
man. I'm not saying it's a you thing. I'm saying it's all searches for something bigger than us sound the exact same if you just say it that way.
No, sorry. Yeah, I took that personal. Now we're not friends anymore.
I'm just saying, please take it to the Reddit and just replace ghost stuff with UFO stuff, and it will sound the exact same. It'll sound equally crazy.
God damn you, Jesse. God damn you.
I'm just saying.
That's so funny, dude.
But please, continue.
As Rountree's knowledge of both science and spirituality deepened, he began to envision a way to merge them. So he believed that the tools of science could be used to explore and understand the spiritual realm to provide tangible evidence for the first time of the unseen forces that shaped our lives. This ambition would ultimately lead him to develop his spirit camera, a device that he hoped would bridge the gap between these two worlds. He was the issue with the spirit camera is, as I said earlier, Rountree was notoriously secretive about the inner workings of his spirit camera. And while he often spoke in very broad terms about its ability to capture ectoplasmic energy and electromagnetic fluctuations, he never once provided a detailed technical explanation of how the camera functioned. Some of the explanations he did offer, though, vary in depth. And so one of the things he says is Rountree claimed to use a special type of film and filters that were sensitive to specific wavelengths of energy emitted by spirits. However, he never revealed the exact specifications of those materials.
Fucking Doctor Who writer or what the fuck?
Yeah.
He reversed the polarity of light and was able to see ghosts.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. It's exactly that kind of shit. He also mentioned incorporating electromagnetic sensors into the camera to detect the subtle fluctuation in energy fields that he believed were associated with paranormal activity. And he also emphasized the importance of intuition and ritual in operating the camera, suggesting that it was not merely a technological tool, but also a spiritual instrument. So it's both. Have you ever seen Fatal Frame?
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
There you go, right?
There you go.
There you go.
That's all you need.
Fatal Frame is one of my favorite scary games, period.
Too true.
So good.
I couldn't get through it as a younger kid. It was too scary for me.
It's terrifying because you only see the ghost through the camera. That's terrifying.
It's like Five Nights at Freddy's took that moment and made it a whole game, basically. Like the fighting ghost moments, if you think about it. I'm a genius like that. Thank you. This lack of transparency about the camera obviously fueled skepticism and speculation about its authenticity. Critics accused him of using conventional photographic techniques, as Jesse was saying earlier as we were getting into it, how popular it was before to just like create fucking ghost photos out of just filters and shit. Such as double exposure, long exposures, to create the illusion of ghostly figures. Others suggested that the images were simply artifacts of dust, light reflections, or other mundane phenomena, and that would make sense for like the orbs and shit. But he refused to divulge the specifics of his camera, even under all this accusation, which ultimately contributed to the ongoing debate of the legitimacy of his work. But he did, quote unquote, explain the science behind everything that he was taking photos of, and that we're going to talk a little bit about, because that's the best part of this whole fucking thing. Rountree frequently described ghosts as electromagnetic anomalies or energy imprints left behind in the environment by people or events with strong emotional charges. He theorized that these imprints could interact with the electromagnetic field, potentially explaining phenomena like electronic device malfunctioned or unexplained temperature fluctuations that are often reported in haunted locations. He further proposed that these energy imprints might be accessible through the manipulation of the electromagnetic field or through a phenomenon known as quantum entanglement. Quantum entanglement is a well-known documented principle that we've talked about before, where basically two particles become linked in such a way that they basically do the same shit. Rountree suggested that perhaps a living person could be entangled, quote unquote, with a deceased loved one's energy imprint, allowing for a form of communication or perception. Makes sense, right? Obviously. Duh.
Okay, wait. Say that one more time.
Rountree suggested that perhaps a living person, similar to quantum entanglement, could be quote unquote entangled with a deceased loved one's energy imprint, allowing for a form of communication or perception, like being able to perceive them.
Like getting their spirit stuck on your shoe as you leave a bathroom?
Yeah,
and then you just see it?
That checks out. And
then you just see it?
I think you got that. Yeah. Now, Rountree, as mentioned here, kind of drew upon quantum physics a bit, particularly leaning on the concept of entanglement to explain paranormal phenomena. He suggested that particles could become linked in such a way that they could communicate instantaneously across vast distances, which we've been described, or rather explained to, by other people who are much more like scientists than us, that quantum entanglement doesn't actually mean communication, because once you measure it, the thing automatically becomes it. So unless you can influence the way it's going to become when you measure it, you don't really have any way of like sending information over that quantum entanglement, if that makes sense. I think I'm explaining that in a way that is terrible, but maybe right.
I think I'm with you, to be honest.
Yeah, so I'm trying. I love this shit. And so when people actually write out like what it's about, I try my best to understand. But yeah, he drew on all this shit, and he's suggesting that the particles could be linked in such a way that they could communicate instantaneously, even across vast distances. And this, he believed, could account for the ability of spirits to manifest themselves in different locations or influence events in the physical world. This is why he's saying we can see one person, like a ghost of somebody here, but maybe a minute or two later, you might see them like down the street or something like that, or even further away. It's because quantum entanglement means they can be anywhere at the same time. I don't know what he's trying to say.
That's what quantum entanglement means?
I don't know. That's what he's saying it means. Is what I'm trying to understand.
All right.
Regardless, there's more shit. Like, another key element in Rountree's theories was the role of the electromagnetic fields, EMFs. He believed that spirits could manipulate these fields to communicate with the living, and that his camera was designed to detect these subtle fluctuations. And quote, spirits are able to manipulate electromagnetic fields to create a variety of effects, including moving objects, making noises, and appearing as apparitions. My camera is able to detect these changes in the electromagnetic field and capture them, end quote. So, no explanation as to how, just it can do it. He also believed that electronic voice phenomena, EVPs, were not simply anomalies or glitches in the recording equipment. Instead, he proposed that they were the result of these electromagnetic fields operating within the audio frequency of the spectrum, saying, quote, EVP, or electronic voice phenomena, was created by EMF, or an electromagnetic field that propagates into the audio frequency spectrum. EVP occurs in a very localized area. This is supported by the fact that two people adjacent to one another can be recording the environment with audio recording devices, and one recorder will pick up an EVP while the adjacent one may not, end quote. Yeah, he suggests basically that EVP as a localized phenomenon is maybe tied to locations or events within the field of activity.
It feels like he's directly addressing just every criticism of ghost hunting with a lore, like Star Trek warp drive based answer.
Yeah, technobabble in his way out of this shit. Correct. He also introduces the concept of paranormal event horizon to describe the point. Yes. Yeah.
Alex is more accurate with everything you say. Like, this man is just like every buzzword that ever was. I'm going to include it in my theories.
Oh, you are 100% correct. Yeah. This concept of the paranormal event horizon is to describe the point where the energy of the living and the deceased could possibly interact. Quote, by studying this point, which I have labeled the paranormal event horizon, I have been able to formulate first a hypothesis and develop it into a viable theory, end quote. And while he doesn't really define what this is, it seems to be a theoretical boundary where the laws of physics, as we understand them, just break down, allowing for the interaction of these different realms of existence.
Okay.
What you wouldn't expect is that there are also wormholes involved in how ghosts interact with us. Rountree often...
What? Okay.
Yeah. So Rountree loved to cite the work of Stephen Hawking to support his ideas about wormholes as well, saying, quote, the truth is wormholes are all around us, only they're too small to see. They occur in nooks and crannies in space and time. He believed that ghosts could, and that's the end of the quote, he believed that ghosts could utilize these microscopic wormholes to travel between dimensions or communicate with the living. He also suggested that quantum entanglement was also part of the wormhole thing.
I mean, are we going to find out why ghosts would choose to do this?
Because that's the only way. That's like asking us why we choose to interact in a 3D physical way, Jesse.
Oh, wait, never mind. It's because they're wants. I forgot. Because they have wants and needs.
And they exist in a realm beyond.
And they want to resolve their problems.
Yeah.
Ghost lore. I got it. Don't worry. I'm back in.
It's the same as the Casper movie, basically.
Exactly. Yeah. You got the skinny ghost and the fat ghost and the buff ghost. Yeah.
Are you talking about Fatso, Stinky, and Stretch?
I am. In fact, I am. Yes.
So he wrote 2 papers, at least that I could find, both in 2014, that I will not tell you I read all the way through, but I read a chunk of. They're really fucking long. I'll give you the link to it afterward. But basically in these papers, he draws upon established theories in physics like Einstein's general relativity, string theory, but applies them in ways that would make ancient aliens proud. Just jumping to conclusions with these things. some of the key points that he makes are Rountree kind of describes wormholes as theoretical passages that could connect different points in space and time, potentially allowing for travel between universes or dimensions. And he suggests that these wormholes could be formed through the interaction of cosmic strings, which are hypothetical one-dimensional objects that may have formed in the early universe, according to my Google research on what the fuck cosmic strings are. He also says and proposes that exotic matter, a hypothetical substance with negative mass, not dark matter, the exotic matter.
Right, it's exotic.
Yeah, exactly.
It's built different. Yeah.
Sexy matter is also what it's called in the science world.
No, not erotic matter, exotic. It's a little dangerous, a little strange. Like, what's that about?
That's like the introduction to every minisode.
A little dangerous, a little strange.
Ooh.
He said that the exotic matter is a hypothetical substance with negative mass. It's necessary to keep wormholes open and stable. And he suggests that this exotic matter could be present in the spatial area between universes. So I guess there's like space between universes, which wouldn't that mean that that's another universe? Like,
I don't know. I don't really, I got to tell you, this is where the limit of my knowledge is, to be honest with you.
I feel like, but your breadth of comic knowledge could help here.
I don't know that's true.
If this were the DC universe, there's something called the bleed that exists between universes. That's not quite a universe. But I seriously
by DC
doubt
logic, it's possible.
I seriously doubt that the bleed is. I feel like the bleed is not going to hold up to like physicists. So you know what? Let me know, physicists, if you're watching this. Do a little cursory research on the bleed as described by Grant Morrison or somebody like that, and let us know what you think. Challenge Gauntlet Thrown. I love to learn.
He also draws upon the concept of resonance. That's when two objects vibrating at the same frequency influence each other. And he suggests that cosmic strings could resonate and entangle, leading to the formation of wormholes. And then he also believes that paranormal phenomena such as ghosts and UFOs could be explained by the interaction of energy or entities within these wormholes. He suggests that the energy of the deceased could utilize wormholes to manifest in our reality. It's a whole lot, dude. It's a lot. Like, into some quotes I got here that, like, he says, quote, "So what if two tiny strings approach each other? So if, as the two strings approach each other, they begin to match frequencies until they intertwine at resonance, this could be the genesis of the formation of a wormhole." He also says, paranormal phenomena, regardless of the area of study, are highly transitory. They come and go, much like a wormhole. What if these wormholes are the conduit between our world and the next?
What if, man? What if?
What if somebody came to my house and kissed me on the lips right now?
What if? Let's leave it there. What if?
I'm just asking,
Yeah. Obviously, this Rountree is kind of just a blend. He just blends scientific terminology that he thinks he knows with esoteric concepts that he thinks are real and creates his own kind of science out of it. And that's kind of all we know about Rountree. And even if you look for some of his photos, it's hard as fuck to find because most of them are in his book. And nobody really has his book, but you can buy his book for $21, I think, on Amazon is what it is. Or it's $10 for Kindle.
That's a good deal.
That's a Subway footlong.
Yeah, man.
That's topic number one. The next one is the best of the two. Boys, Ted Serios is an absolute favorite of these two guys. He is the
His name is dead serious, but just
Wait, are we going to learn about what he did and what photos he
what? Who?
took?
Rountree?
Yeah. Do we have any photos or anything do we have any examples? We haven't seen any of his work.
Go buy his book. He has examples in his book.
Well, have you seen them?
No, No, I did not. I don't have the book. I didn't fucking buy his book.
There's no images on the internet of his photos?
I tried, and the only ones that are out there are literally blurry messes that are undefinable as anything. It's like a brown blur. That's just the whole photo.
His is more about the lore.
Absolutely correct.
Okay.
Ted Serios, I've got you some evidence.
Wait, hold on. What year was Roundtable?
We're like 80s-ish, 90s-ish. He's still obviously around today. You can see a picture of him. The man looks like he could take me out with a single punch.
But he could have influenced the Casper movie.
It's very possible. It's actually possible.
Fatso, Stinky, and Stretch could have been...
You're not wrong.
Thanks to Mr. Rountree.
So, Ted Serios is a name I'm assuming rings no bells with you.
It sounds like when you're trying to tell somebody that you are dead serious, but you like want to cross your fingers. I am Ted Serios.
I am Ted Serios.
Yeah, I am Ted Serios right now. Listen to me.
I am Ted Serios.
Look at my eyes. I am Ted Serios. Oh, you thought I was serious? No, I was talking about that UFO photographer or ghost photographer.
Ted Serios is a man whose story takes place 2 decades prior, the 60s. He was a man who caused quite a stir locally. This man was an unemployed bellhop from Chicago who was known for his heavy drinking, boisterous personality, and accusations of being a con man. Ted.
Me. It's me.
Was super well liked, clearly.
Sorry.
No, yeah. No, your editor, Ted.
Oh, yeah, Ted. Yeah, I was just joking. No, this is Serios. Yeah, no, this is Serios.
But at the end of the day, Ted claimed to have a rather unique talent. The ability to create images on film, specifically Polaroids, using only the power of his mind and thoughts. He could transfer, he claimed, his thoughts onto pictures.
Okay.
And what did he call them?
Paranormal roids.
Ted's. Okay, wait, hold on. What is it? He puts his hands on the Polaroids and they come on the Polaroid.
I'm gonna go over how he does it.
I'm gonna call them mind pictures, brain pictures.
Come on, Paranormaloids is right there.
Paranormaloids sounds
Alex is closest.
Paranormaloid sounds literally like one of the villains who would attack the mystical city of Attilan in the Inhumans.
Take that idea of like it's a hilarious name, but you're closer with your guess, Alex. He called them photographs.
Photographs?
Yep.
He's
photographs.
And he probably pronounced the real word photographs.
Yeah.
Ted Serios?
He may have.
He was Ted Serios.
He was Ted Serios. These are called photographs.
What's fascinating about Ted Serios compared to David is that he went through extensive amounts of tests, controlled tests by researchers, and a bunch of shit. We even have it on video, but we'll get to it. It's crazy. Yeah, this man, unemployed, drunk all the time, super boisterous, not super liked, but still, he claimed to have this ability. Some accused him of being a con artist, basically around the photograph, not prior to all of this, but just because of his photography, if you will. They called it an elaborate trick. But now Ted wasn't he wasn't like David where he's like pretended he's like a scientist. He's not a self-claimed scientist. He was just a regular dude who stumbled upon, according to him, this supposed ability after a night of drinking with friends into a near blackout state. That's how he figured out he had this ability. According to Ted's recollection, the story goes that he was out sharing drinks with a man by the name of George Johans, a former employer who also dabbled in hypnosis.
How does one dabble? How does one dabble in hypnosis?
Just dabble.
There is a time, like the 60s, it's honestly, I'm surprised we didn't really talk about it.
Are you about to tell me that in the 60s people dabbled in hypnosis?
It was a hugely popular thing to do. And it it was like really dangerous in the wrong hands.
What?
Not in a supervillain type, but like emotionally abused people kind of way.
Okay.
Sure. Okay. Yes, I'm back on board. I thought you were like, in the wrong hands, hypnosis is dangerous. I'm Ted Serios.
I'm still in like my script mind right now. All right. I'm still in my script mind. So he's drinking with his buddy George. And as the night wore on, the conversation turned to the unexplained and the potential for psychic abilities. In a playful moment, Ted grabbed a Polaroid camera from the table that I assume is one of them was theirs, held it up to his forehead, and jokingly declared his intention to project his thoughts onto the film. And much to his surprise and everyone else's astonishment, when the Polaroid developed, a faint image had materialized. It wasn't much, really blurry, indistinct, but there was a pattern to it. It was enough to plant a seed in Ted's mind, really, in his drunken state. Could he really actually be influencing the film of his thoughts with his thought?
Ted.
No.
Dude, that was it. That's all he needed. And so he was like,
Ted.
Let's find out. Although initially blurry and indistinct, this unexpected result, and we're looking at like 1961-ish at times, this unexpected result sparked his curiosity and ignited the fire within him to do more of this. He became, again, he's unemployed bellhop. So, he's got a lot of time on his hands to fuck around. He became obsessed with trying to replicate the phenomena that he claimed happened during that night of drinking, convinced that he had stumbled upon a genuine psychic ability. Fueled by a mix of excitement and skepticism, according to him, he continued to practice with the camera, often under the influence of booze. He was usually drunk when
Under the influence of booze.
Yeah. Over time and with persistence, the images that he was taking became clearer and clearer. Some captured recognizable shapes, maybe objects, while others remained really abstract, blurry, hard to define. The results were inconsistent, but the occasional clear image was enough to keep Ted fueled in his belief in his abilities and spurred him to seek out further validation and to keep seeing if he can make this thing work. Now, we'll get to the pictures at the end here. He took over 1,000 photographs, not just on his own, but people who were testing him, researching him, and they are banked in a college website that we'll be looking at the end.
Can't wait.
Hell yes.
Ted attributed the initial discovery to the hypnotic suggestions of his friend George, who had previously used hypnosis to allegedly help Ted kind of recover repressed memories. Whether hypnosis played any genuine role or simply acted as a catalyst of Ted's subconscious, like to explore this shit, remains like nobody will know. And needless to say, this caught the attention of folks interested in the paranormal. Some were convinced Ted was the real deal, a psychic pioneer. Others, while they were a bit more skeptical, thought that Ted was just clever trickster, pulling a fast one on the public for a short 15 minutes of fame.
A clever trickster, dude.
Yeah, dude, he's a trickster god. But whether or not you believe that, his story is undeniably fascinating. After his initial discovery, Ted was all in and pushed further into thoughtographs that he'd been creating. After a little bit of time, Ted had settled into a sort of ritual that he would do to create these thoughtographs. These are the things that he figured out that just worked.
You know what? Thoughographs is starting to become catchy.
I know, it's great.
I actually like it way better than Paranormal Roids right now. I'm going to let you know.
Paranormal Roids is better, but it's like a video game that cost 25 cents in 1973 that you played like with other grown-ass adults with no stigma because video games were so new.
So, first step in this ritual, the pre-gaming. Ted, ever the showman, would make a grand spectacle of consuming copious amounts of alcohol to get this going. And he had dubbed him getting drunk to do these, what the booze was. He called it his film juice. So, healthy.
I mean, that seems like an alcoholic. Daddy, this is film juice.
This is my film juice. I gotta have it. Pictures don't happen.
Gotta have my film juice.
This shit was essential to his extrasensory perception. The more inebriated he became, the more his confidence seemed to soar. It was almost as if the liquor in his mind acted as like a psychic lubricant, soothing a pathway between his like thoughts and that filter most people have before you say a thought. That allowed him to break open his psychic powers in his mind and allowed him to do all these to get his thoughtgraphs on blank Polaroid films. That's also important to remind, like, even a lot of these tests were done, it was with blank Polaroid films. They weren't like used Polaroids. Obviously, of course, skeptics would scoff and mutter about all this nonsense.
Obviously.
Obviously. Their theories revolving around lowered inhibitions and the loosening of fine motor skills. Even hinting that the possibility that the alcohol itself was somehow altering the developing Polaroid chemicals. They were saying like maybe the alcohol fumes are like fucking up the Polaroid. But that was part one. Part one, get fucking blasted.
But even then, I must stress, if it does turn out that alcohol fumes mess up Polaroids, that's like when Gandalf blows a ship out of smoke. Like, that is a trick unto itself.
Absolutely.
That is very impressive.
If nothing came out and he moved his fucking cheeks like that, I would be impressed.
So I want to also go on to move on to this before we go to this next part. There were multiple ways he was tested as well. The main way we're going to get to, but there were other times where he was literally miles away from the person who was taking the picture with the Polaroid. They were on a phone call, and then he would tell them when he felt it was time to take a picture. We'll talk about that. But the big thing skeptics latch onto is the thing that he ended up calling the gizmo. The gizmo kind of showed up a little later as he was kind of trying to figure out how to make this work. And what the gizmo is a cylindrical piece of plastic tubing that he held up to the camera lens like a magic talisman. And it kind of was like what Ted's like secret weapon in a way. Skeptics whispered it was a mere distraction, like a magician trying to conceal trickery. And like, you know, basically like you're distracted by him being drunk and obscene, while the gizmo had maybe an exposure or something inside of it that when the picture was taken, fucked with the image in a way that was creating these illusions. Ted insisted it was more than that. According to him, it was like a focusing tool. It was allowed him to kind of like focus his thoughts to be like, this is what I want to do. Almost like a physical representation in D&D. Wizards have talismans to focus on to get a bonus. You know, if you want to think of it like that, almost like a way for him to get his thoughts into one place. He said it helped him concentrate his thoughts, visualize the image he wanted to project onto the film, and then somehow inexplicably channel that mental image onto the film itself. The exact workings of the gizmo, like nobody knows. It's like really just theories from skeptics as to how this thing worked. Some speculated it contained a special lens or filter, maybe a technological like doodad that somehow aided in the thoughtographic process. Others believed it was imbued with some strange psychic power, a totem that enhanced Ted's abilities. But Ted himself remained coy about its secrets too, preferring to let the gizmo add to the mystique of his performance. He didn't do himself any favors when it came to the gizmo. With the gizmo in place and a Polaroid cartridge loaded, Ted would then assume his signature pose. Eyes closed, face contorted in concentration, body seemingly vibrating with psychic energy, and he would mutter incantations, mumble incoherent phrases, and occasionally let out a dramatic groan or sigh. But all of this came after minutes, sometimes hours, of these other people in these tests being berated by an incoherent, drunken, swearing Ted, who is removing articles of clothing one part at a fucking time in his drunken state. And there
starting
are
to sound real.
The man just in his pants, just screaming at the researchers before he would take the picture. And what I mean by he would take the picture,
Are you saying pants like British, or are you saying pants like slacks? Are you like pants like his underwear, like like how British people say that, or like
slacks, like pants
Got
as
you.
we understand them.
Gotcha.
There's a bunch of videos of it. I lost it because my computer rebooted. I have to find it in a second. But there's one where he's screaming at the camera, and basically the way he does it is he's got the camera up. Someone's holding the camera close to him. In the video I saw, he had a shirt off. He was swearing or whatnot. And then it was time to focus. He was like kind of like trying to steady himself. He looked at the camera, squinted, and did like that, like eyebrow up, like kind of like DreamWorks face, but angry. And then he holds up the plastic gizmo and goes, and then he like headbutts the gizmo, and then they take the picture in that moment, and then the picture comes out and it gets developed right there. And that's what he does.
Hey, I know you cannot see what happens in these episodes.
I know.
But Mathis just articulated it and portrayed the entire scene. And some of my favorite Mathis acting I've ever seen.
I think I did a pretty good job too.
He did the eye thing. He did the like dance. He smashed his head against it. Very good.
Here.
Very good.
I got the video. There's going to be annoying commentary over it, so you can just like. I got it timestamped.
I'll just mute it.
Yeah, I got it timestamped. But there's a bunch of clips of him being tested on.
Oh yeah, he does just headbutt it.
Yep. And you can see them. There's multiple researchers in there. There's multiple people in there, like 4 or 5 people. He gets a cigarette.
Then he pulls out a big bottle, takes a swig.
So this guy's just winding everyone up.
Yeah,
Look at that. This is like that guy that like went in and like was getting interviewed for the thing, that like Irish guy, and he like got like a free meal.
Later on at 5 minutes or so, he's in the room for the Matrix.
Yeah, I saw this.
And it's a more modern version, and he's taking his thing and he's screaming, and it's a thing, all right. But it looks entirely like performative art.
It feels like a magic trick. Yeah.
There is one of the people that ended up getting really involved with him was a doctor by the name of Jewel Eisenbud. And because of all the skepticism and whatnot about the gizmo and all this shit, they said, and they quote, "I hereby state that if before any competent jury of scientific investigators, photographers, and conjurers, any chosen by them can in any normal way or combination of ways duplicate under similar conditions the range of phenomena produced by Ted, I shall 1. Abjure all further work with Ted, 2. Buy up and publicly burn all available copies of The World of Ted Soros,
All right.
3. Take a full paid ad and popular for, like that typical stuff. And then 4, spend my time for the rest of all my life selling door-to-door subscriptions to this amazing magazine. That he was like, basically, but he's like, anybody can do this. Fucking just show me. Replicate what Ted is doing, and I'll eat my words. Never really happened as far as I could tell. Nobody came forward with an ability like that similar were to Ted. So continuing on, the gizmo in place, cartridge loaded. Like I said, he did all that shit. And he screams, winks, headbutts the damn thing. Picture is taken. And during this, even while the picture was developing, a constant stream of muttered words, phrases, like just out of his mouth, barely audible whispers, others bordering on shouts and obscenities. Observers believed these were words of encouragement to himself. They thought maybe he was like hyping himself up to take the next picture, hyping himself to focus. I think it might have just been really fucking blasted because the man was drunk as hell.
This is fascinating. So apparently in the same video you sent, it goes on to talk about the Amazing Randy, which I don't know. I feel like we did an episode on the Amazing Randy, but maybe not. Either way, love the Amazing Randy.
I feel like every episode is kind of an episode about Amazing Randy in a way.
Love Amazing Randy. Yeah. Very fun. But apparently he took up the offer and was like, sure, I'll do that then. Because that's his whole shtick. He's like, I actively try to prove fraud's wrong. And when he said, okay, I'll do it, they gave him such a absolutely insane set of conditions. He's has to do it in a Faraday cage. He has to get super drunk and be naked, and the camera has to be way far. He was like, yeah, all right. No, I'm fuck off.
Yeah.
Well, I think not saying that was ridiculous, but we have on video how it was being done, like the research was being done. I feel like just mimic what's on video. Do it that way.
That's what, I think that's why he was like, you're setting up, let me just do what they did in the video. And I think they tried to make it more,
Yeah, I'm like, you don't have to be drunk. Like, maybe that's like a little far. But if you can mimic
that's part of the process. Maybe it does loosen up the inhibitions. I don't know.
Maybe it does. Maybe it does. You're right.
I'm not that serious about that.
I don't know why I asked. Obviously, he also, apparently there was notations of he groaned and he sighed a whole lot too. I don't know how important that is to know, but I found it entertaining.
He groaned and he sighed a lot?
Yeah. During the testing and the experimentation. But over his time doing photographs, like I said, he created over 1,000 different photos. And I'm going to have, who wants to read this quote? This is from Jewel Eisenbud about what happened when pictures were taken. It's a short quote.
I got you.
Good.
When he was hot, when he was in the groove, what happened was, the first he started alternating whiteys and blackies. Blackies is total obstruction of the light, no light. Whiteys is total overexposure, which shouldn't have been. Then the pictures would start getting darker and darker and darker, and then it would start to imprint people or scenes.
Yep. That's basically this is the long and short of how it went down. But there was still, like I said, if you had doubt about the gizmo, there was a second method that was used. While still absolutely shit-faced the whole time, Ted would be miles away from the researchers who were conducting these experiments, but be on the phone with them. And when Ted told them to, in that moment, they would snap a picture with the Polaroid camera, which then ended up being pitch black, even though the room that they were in taking photographs in was lit fine and there was no obstruction, nor was there a gizmo in front of the camera. Ted would continue making photographs all the way from 1963 is when this really kind of started, to 1967, when his final photograph would be an incredibly clear image of curtains. And you could probably Google it and find it. And while that might, to some, was like, oh no, that means it's curtains for him, he's going to die. Ted actually lived way longer. He made it to 2007 before he passed away. But he was never able, after that last image of curtains, he was never able to produce photographs after that one. But that's not without trying. There's actually videos of him in more modern videos in older age trying to do it, and it just wasn't happening. He couldn't do it.
It doesn't even look like curtains.
The curtains photograph?
I mean, if you told me it was curtains, I would be like, oh yeah, that's a picture of curtains. But
there's some airplanes. Some of the weird ones that were talked about. The two weird ones that I can remember anyway, and I couldn't find them digging through 1,000 photos. There's supposedly one where there's a picture of a Mounties station in Canada, but the word Canadian is spelled incorrectly. The letters are all jumbled. And there's supposedly another picture of an airplane where their landing gear, whatever you call those things at the bottom, are swapped. They're mirrored and they're wrong, or they're reversed or something. Very kind of like bizarre. There's also pictures of like Denver Hotel and stuff that you can see. But yeah, there's 1,000 photographs. I'm also going to link this to Dean just so I have it. And yeah, as for his, and then when it came to like him being unable to produce anymore, there's no single explanation he provided. He goes as he gained more attention. He also faced increased scrutiny from skeptics and researchers who were determined to debunk his claims. Maybe this, with a heightened awareness on his potential like trickery, if he truly was doing some shit, was enough for him to be like, got to stop now, or they're going to figure it out. It's very possible.
I mean, so looking at these images, some of them are hyper clear.
Yes,
like one marked Federal Building, straight up just says Federal Building on it, right?
Some are clear as shit, some are not. Some are like a dream-like middle ground.
And I'm really curious because they have, if you click on it, it says Federal Building. I'm like, okay, so what was there's all this information about the photograph, where it's from, what it was taken on, that kind of stuff. But then there's nothing on here that says this is how it was produced. Right? So this could be one of the ones where he was right there, or one of the ones where it's far away. Like, what was was he just drunk in a room and he smashed his head against the tube and then this showed up?
Yeah, I mean, all of them basically were headbutt ones, except for like the one test where he was super far away. But I don't know what images those are.
I mean, where was it? You know what I mean?
Saying, yeah, like I don't know what.
Did he do the test outside of the Federal Building and they just took a photo of the like that kind of thing?
Yeah, exactly. I don't. Most of the photographs, the ones that were tested, were taken in like a room, like the one that was in the video. Yeah, like all those, the ones that are in the video, that's kind of how those were being done. And they were supposedly getting images of things that were far away, which is why skeptics have breakdowns of how the gizmo would work, because they have video of how the tests are being done. So it has to be, if it's a con thing, it has to be involved with his gizmo in some way, or something that he's doing that is not obvious when you're watching a video.
There's got to be some kind of microfiche type.
Something along those lines. Yeah. How, like I did... there's like a photograph of like how people imagined it would work. Yeah. There's something like along these.
I'm also very interested in this one that's like a drawing.
Yeah, I don't know. I saw that and I don't know what that's from off the top of my head. I don't know if that was like if they drew it and like something he saw.
It says it was a Thai building prediction that he made. Yeah,
there's the gizmo. Like someone has like a kind of like a slice, like what would it look like on the inside? But basically all it's showing is that there's like a lens at the very front of it that's like concave, and then further back would be the image. I just feel like that would be obvious. It's bizarre. Regardless, it definitely was like in 1967. For whatever reason, it ended. So
it is a testament to like theatricality and like selling something. Like this guy just fully committed to this stupid ass thing. He'd get wasted so that he was acting weird, and then he would like
free lunch and shit.
Yeah, and he did this like perfect little thing. It's literally just like that Irish guy in that. Do you remember what I'm talking about? There was like that Irish guy. Yeah, it was that Irish guy that they like brought in to like ask him about something, and they were like making fun of him. I forget what the episode was, but they were like making fun of him because he was Irish. It was definitely like a racist. But the whole point was that they like made him sit through this whole interview, and like while he did, he like ate like every piece of food and asked for like,
that was brought up on this before. Yeah, we talked about that. Yeah.
It's exactly the same thing as this, except this guy just like never took the money and ran. He just kept going. He just kept going. He just tried to see how far he could take it. And then I think the fact that the last one is curtains is like just too.
Yeah.
It's too cute.
It is, right? Like that's what I'm saying too. Like I as we wrap to the end of this, as we are at the end of this rather, for me, I think his is the most entertaining story. And of the two, the more convincing one, but it's like, you can see how this would have gotten.
There's a movie here, you know?
Yeah, there's definitely a movie.
There's a movie.
But you can definitely see how he could have been fucking with them and like...
Sure, like literally, yes.
Figuring it out. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But that's it, boys. That's the end of Ghost Photography, or whatever I'm going to call this episode. Those are the two most well-known ghost photographers that have existed. And it's just another example of why it's so hard to fucking do anything substantial in the world of the ghost realm, because... evidence is impossible.
I want to challenge you on this. This episode inspired me to do an episode.
Okay.
There's a topic you brought up in this episode that I've wondered about for a long time, of the origins of it. I'm not going to get any deeper.
Okay.
But I want to do an origins episode. Think of it like Wolverine.
I love it.
But
I don't want to think about it like that. As an X-Men fan, I want to be excited about this. Brother!
But I want to do an origins. I want to do an origins of something, and you've inspired me.
That's exciting.
And it's ghost related.
Even better. I love it. Well, that's it for today's episode, boys. Next week, Range 4 Harry returns as we finish the story of Range 4 Harry, and Aaron returns for that, and fucking that.
That's how you could tell he's really into that story, because wow,
he came back. He's like, I'm coming back, and I
he decided to come back.
He came back for more Range 4 Harry.
I literally said to him, I was like, hey, people loved it. If you ever want to come back and do more, like, happy to. And he was like, I would love to. I'm like, all right, more Range 4 Harry, but. Yeah, that'll be next week. We're going to go do a mini-sode right now for patreon.com/ChilluminatiPod, where you can go support us. Thank you so much for listening. We love you. We appreciate you. Goodbye.
Bye.
Anyway, me and my wife were sitting outside indulging on our porch one night, enjoying ourselves. I needed to go to the bathroom, so I stepped back inside, and after a few moments, I hear my wife go, holy shit, get out here. So I quickly dash back outside, and she's looking up at the sky and fog